all of the things that you want that you're not currently living, they all live in a different vibrational frequency than you are at this point in time. And so perhaps the work to do is to start to do things to raise your vibrational energy. It's all, of course, relative to the person, to their own growth, and all of those sorts of things. And I see in the chat room has got a question about vibrational change. Why is it that people, including myself, focus so much on money? Is it that by focusing on spiritual growth and my vision of life, money will take care of itself? It's an interesting question, really interesting. And I see you've put down here that you were reminded this morning that you are already financially successful. It's just a short-term cash flow issue. And that's the key word, the word flow. The word flow. I'm starting to understand a lot more about the word flow in your life as well as with money. And what I mean by that is, if you think about water flowing, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop and you get to pick it up and play with it and hang on to it. It just keeps flowing. It just keeps moving. It's forever moving. And so I think you've got the point there about a short-term cash flow. Let's just call it a short-term flow issue. In other words, you're trying to pick up water and you just can't. You're trying to pick up water in a sieve or a colander or whatever they call it in different countries. The thing where you put your vegetables and the water comes out. You're trying to pick up water in one of those. And that's what it is when we're all trying to grab onto money. Now, the interesting thing about this question for me is that I myself was making a cup of coffee this morning. I have a habit of sitting on my deck every morning for probably 20 minutes, and I just write down everything that's come to me since I woke up. If I do it straight after I wake up, all this weird stuff comes pouring out of me, things that I must have thought of while I was sleeping, things that are leftover bits of dreams, all sorts of strange things. But once I do that, I can actually find myself focusing a lot more clearer on things. And because I wanted to talk about vibrational frequency today, I'm making my coffee and I can hear in my head, and when I say I can hear in my head, I have this thought process that happens when my guides and I are all getting ready to do a radio show or to do an event or any of those, or even to do a session with a client. And it feels like the conversation's happening in my head and I'm just going about my day doing the things that I want to do. So I was making a cup of coffee, and the thinking process that was happening was that, so we're talking about vibrational frequency. We're talking about raising our vibrational frequency. For me, my goal is always to raise myself up to the level of joy, the frequency of joy. Because from a place of joy, you're also in touch with the feeling of, you're also in touch with the frequency of unconditionality, or what some would call unconditional love. I call it unconditionality. And I was standing there pouring the water into my cup, and it occurred to me, or the thought was there, that we have so many conditions based around money. We have conditions like, oh, I'll do a good job for you and you'll pay me money. And we have conditions like, I'll do this and you'll give me this much. And we have conditions about how it's going to come to us. We have conditions about what we're going to do with it. It's just loaded with so many conditions. And so we have to start understanding that it's just energy. It's just a vibrational frequency like everything else. And if we're in the higher levels of vibrational frequency at joy and love and unconditionality, well, that's where money resides. But for some reason, we can do this unconditional stuff. We're even starting to do it in our relationships a lot more than we ever have before. But we still can't do it around money because we've got so many conditions on money. We've just got so many conditions. You know, we have all this stuff around money. And I think you have to systematically break through each and every one of those things that we've got about money. In other words, look at every single condition you've ever placed on money. And it's hard. There are so many. so many conditions that we place on money, ones we can't even imagine that we think right now. But if you take the time and sit down and write down all of the conditions that you have on money, even the ones about the paying the bills, you've got conditions around paying your bills. I'll only pay it on the day it's absolutely due, or I'll pay it a week late because then blah, 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 or I'll make sure I pay it as soon as I receive it. You've got all of these conditions. Look at the conditions you've got around money. Look at your expectations around money. Look at all of it. Decide which ones you want to keep and which ones you want to get rid of, and then work at getting rid of the ones that aren't working for you. I don't know what more to say about that subject, except that we're doing some very exciting work at the moment on helping people to shift through their abundance block to allow the cash to start flowing again, because there's so many. If you haven't got it in your life, you've got a block. You've got an energetic block. And I know you know how to fix that for yourself. I know also that it's hard to do it for yourself, because I've been struggling to do that myself. Perhaps find someone who does the same sort of work, or you can teach that work and ask them to do it for you. You know, all of those sorts of things. Just look at your expectations around money and your beliefs and all of that, and just look at that and decide which ones work for you, decide which don't, and then start working on it. But there's a block. If you haven't got the money that you want flowing through your life, there's a block. Continue to work on that block. Find the people who can help you work through it and all of those sorts of things. And good luck to everybody. I hope to see you again next week. We are out. I've loved the show very much. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon.